Hello and welcome back to the weekly woo for week from December 22nd to December 28th. And so Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Have a safe and fun holiday season, whatever you celebrate. Okay, so this week we have a week that is all over the place. It's going to be your plans changing by the day, and you're probably going to have multiple changes per day. And so why do I say that? Because we are loaded with a whole bunch of minor hiccup aspects, which means it's annoying, and there's also many plans being altered, changes in plans, unexpected hiccups, and it's just here, there, and all over the place. So mild issues or mild problems that need to be resolved, which result in a change of plans, those kind of things. Okay. All right. I recorded this once already and not realizing it wasn't recording, so I'm doing it a second time. Okay, so again, we have our plans all over the place. We're going to have plans changing daily, probably multiple times a day. And so that just gives us a heads up. So we need flexibility, we need adaptability, and we need patience, and we also need to keep a sense of humor. Okay, so when I look at this, we are going to be starting with our planetary shifts. So I'm going to talk about December 21st, even though this is for the 22nd to the 28th, I'm going to talk a little bit on each end of it. Why? Because of our Saturn squares. We are right in the month of December, we are right full of Saturn squares, but those are harsh, they're hard ones, and they're definitely attention getting, okay? So today, the 21st, is the winter solstice. Our sun enters Capricorn at 0 degrees, and our winter solstice is our shortest and darkest day of the year, right? So now we start, after today, we start building daylight, we start building daylight length, and we begin the new emergence for the up and coming spring, okay? So on the same day as the winter solstice, we have a Venus square Saturn, and that's a tough one, right? There's that Saturnian square again, and it means business. It's about the more serious areas of life, okay? And then on December 24th, we have Venus entering Capricorn. At that point, we will have a Capricornian stellium. So that means 3 or more planets in the sign of Capricorn. So that's going to take on that Capricornian energy big time. Okay, and and on the 29th, I'll just mention it too. So December 29th, it's not part of this week, it's actually next week, but we do have our asteroid Juno entering the sign of Capricorn as well. So addition of more Capricornian energy. So what I want to talk to you about, there's two things. We have one major hard square, and that's going to be a Venus square and Neptune on December 24th. And then we will also have a trine, which is a really good mojo, good solutions answers of a Mercury trine Chiron. Okay, so that's basically the only good aspect we have. We are really outweighed with negative aspects. We have 10 negative aspects with one positive aspect. But the good news is it's only one square, but it's a harsh square, right? So when I talk about the Venus square Neptune, that is a tough one. And so Neptune, that is our Lord of the Sea, okay? And sitting at that pivotal, chaotic, aneretic 29 degree, which means it's chaos, it's a jumbled mess. It acts out in the negative value before it ever straightens out. And so that's very problematic, okay? That's going to be on the 24th. And again, that can hover around wearing rose-colored glasses, head in the sand, addiction problems. When you see that 29th degree Pisces and Neptune, that's about lies. It's about falsehoods. The con artist, the con job, someone pulling a fast one. And that's kind of where it becomes exposed. This can be around relationships. It can be around health. It can be around money and finances, those types of things. Also, it can include pharmaceuticals, pharmaceutical drugs, the FDA. That can also include shipping, vessels like ships, those kind of thing on the seas. That can also include water storms, severe weather, severe flooding, those kind of things. It also can include media and film. So when I say that, that can be problems with news and news media. So however that would pertain to you, whatever that would mean to you, that can also include Hollywood film, Hollywood actors. Okay, so you can't believe everything you see. It's full of illusions, delusion. It's the con job. It's the con artist. But when it comes with a square, it means something. The gig's up, the game's up. Something's been exposed or is going to be exposed. Things were not how they appeared. And so when you have a Neptune square, that is like where you need to question everything twice, check everything twice, do your due diligence, because things are not how they look, right? It's like kind of like the used car salesman energy. And it can cover all those areas. So, in a more personal realm, it could be addiction problems within a marriage, right? Or just someone living in fantasy land. That's another one in a relationship. There's just the head in the clouds, living in a fantasy land. This is not even close to living in reality or seeing reality for what it is. So that is a problem. Now, we are boxed in, like I said, from the 21st, we have a Venus square Saturn. That is a square. That's the only square we have today, the day prior to this reading. And then the next square is not this week, but it's actually into next week. And it's going to hit on the 30th. So we're boxed in by two Saturn squares, the 21st of December to the 30th of December. So what does that mean? It means we have a problem with authority figures. Now, that can include political leaders, global leaders, and expect problems, expect chaos. That is where there's going to be things found out, things exposed. People are going to be found out for doing the things, the deception, the falsehoods, or things they're doing in the background that nobody knew about. And they're going to be forced to take responsibility for the things they did or didn't do, things they said or didn't say. So there's responsibility, there's accountability, and Saturn is known as the Lord of Karma. What comes around goes around. And so this is kind of like the gig's up, the game's up. So again, I've said it before in these readings where it's kind of like the last call for these planets sitting in Pisces. And if you don't figure something out, do the right thing, it'll come in, it'll start cleaning house for you. And we have begun to see this on the global stage with some major leaders in certain countries. And so it's kind of the unveiling of what's been going on in the background. They're being caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and there's no way out at this point. So at the point it's waited this long, chances are the time zone where they're respectful resignation with and holding a little bit of dignity, well, that's probably it's gone past. It's too late for that. So it's like the karmic consequences that come with it. There's karmic consequences and there's karmic rewards. In this particular case, the karmic consequences are going to start being handed out, okay? And something else I want to say, because we've had so many Saturn squares in the month of December, that's kind of like, the whistleblower, the gig is up, the game's up, you're being held accountable for what you did, or you got caught doing what you did, you got caught lying, or you're being wearing a false narrative or saying things that you didn't mean or you had no intention of doing. So the integrity, right? The integrity is in the focal point. And so when we look at all this Capricornian energy, so that basically hovers around elitism, right? And so when this is very challenged, and so that's why I say that. So all the kind of the negative things will come up when you got challenging aspects. So that's capitalism. It's top-down control structures. It's elitism, right? And it's about our institutions, and it's about centralization, and it's always society linked, right? So when I say that, so the elitism is a problem, and the centralization is a problem. So this is where an example where it would come to the head, right? So you have someone pushing elitism and top down to control. You do what I say because whatever, and then people fight back. So we're sitting at there, the force and the last stroke, the final stroke of that centralization energy is coming to an end. And so now you're going to have the power back to the people, which is Pluto and Aquarius. And so it's going to be the formation of decentralization, right? And power back to the people, right? Okay, so we're going to be seeing that flaring up, and we've been seeing that all along. So again, there was so much stuff that went on last week with the exposure of authority figures getting caught doing things they're not supposed to be doing and going to be facing the consequences. So when we see Saturn squares, we can expect titles being stripped, statuses being stripped, resignations, or being removed from a power or a seat or an authoritative figure position. The removal of an authority figure. Now that can be politics, that can be global leaders. So we'll see how it plays out. And again, that can be personal, that can be business. So that could be maybe your boss or something like that. But there's conflict, there's problems going on there, and things are getting exposed. And it's the cleanup crew's coming. Okay, so that's essentially what that would mean. Okay, so again, we've had the Saturn square last week. We had, or actually 2 Saturn squares last week. We have another one coming up in the 30th. So we're really boxed in from week to week. So this week is very similar to last week. We just don't have quite as many squares to deal with. But it's going to be like almost like part 2 or chapter 2 from last week. Okay, so we will move on to basically our overshadowing. So I want to talk about that. So our overshadowing energies are this. We have 2 planets in retrograde right now. So that's Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, and it likes to be there. It's an exalted sign and planet combination. So it does very, very well there. And with Jupiter in retrograde, that's actually, like, it's a benevolent planet. It's really good. Lots of times when it goes into retrograde, it'll offer you the second, if you've missed an opportunity, it'll bring it back again for a second grab, right? So that's not so bad. It's actually kind of a nice little treat when it goes into retrograde. And we have Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and it does not like being there. And just know that Uranus in Taurus is completing its session. It will not see Uranus in Taurus for another 84 years. So chances are a lot of us will not live long enough to see the next cycle. And it is completing its final transit through Taurus. And again, when you're sitting in that final transit, it tends to be a bit of a rough ride. So it's kind of that buckle up. It does not like being in Taurus. It does not function well in Taurus. And so she's a bit of a rough ride, especially when we start hovering around that 28, 29 degree. Okay, it'll have the same effects as the 29th degree, anaretic degree as Neptune in Pisces. It's chaotic. It's all over the place. Anything can happen and anything will happen. And when it's mixing with Uranus, that's unexpected. Unexpected events. Like you just did not see that coming, or you did not see that happening. Okay. So we will move on to, I'm going to talk a little bit. There is no bulletproof good day. We only have one good aspect. That's going to be on the 27th. But it's mixed up with a bunch of minor negative aspects that things just don't align, having to redo plans. So there's no bulletproof really good day. Like I said, that it's the best day out of the week. But you know what? Stay light on your feet, stay flexible, be very, very adaptable, be very, very patient, and you know what? Keep a sense of humor because you're going to need it this week. I do want to point out something for Christmas Day, December 25th. We do have a Sun biquintal Uranus, which means it's an unexpected hiccup where we need to alter the plan. So when I look at this, the first thing that comes to mind when I see that, it was like if you were hosting and planning to have Christmas, all of a sudden you come down with the flu and you can't host it because you're sick in bed. So that would mean like, okay, you have all the food, you have all the prep work done, so somebody has to come over, pick everything up, take it to their house to host the Christmas somewhere else, or somebody will come into your home and do the meal for you while you're sick in bed, right? It's just one of those things. Or one of the kids gets sick and you can't make it to Christmas on time because it was an unexpected hiccup and plans just got changed, but you just were not expecting that. So that's kind of a thing for the 25th is kind of what I see. So give or take a little bit, that could be 24th, right bang on 25th or 26th. And so our governing body planet is going to be Venus. It's going to be Mercury second, and we're going to have that Uranian feel all through the week. And so to me, even though Mercury is busier than Uranus, Uranus has a lot more power with it, and they are definitely linked because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So our governing body this week is going to be Venus. And so it's going to have to do, like the themes and the topics is going to be money. It's going to be finances. It's going to be beauty. It's going to be art, beauty linked. So anything like you being from a makeup artist to a house decorator to looking after your own beauty, or you might be an artist that paints or a photographer, those kind of things. And again, to do with money and finances. Okay, so it's always beauty, love, finances. I always like to include health with Venus. Most often you don't see that because Venus loves the fine things in life. Health is a fine thing in life. Without health, you have bugger all, right? So that could be a very high theme here too. Important females in life is very highlighted, as well as our value systems, okay? So you can be looking at upgrading your value systems, upgrading your values, upgrading your value structures. And every time we do an upgrade in life, usually life gets better, it smooths out, it planes out, because you start sorting out the good from the bad, the positive from the negative, and often that can be people or relationships. Okay, so that's going to be the main governing body, the main topics and themes. Next, we are going to have Mercury. So expect a lot of communication coming in, a lot of communication coming out, or finding out news, information. And so you might be waiting to hear from somebody, or somebody might be waiting on you to hear from you, or your answers, or something you have to tell them. That can be chit chat, running into people on the street, chatting, through the Christmas holiday season. But it could be letters, could be emails, text messages, phone calls. Okay, so do prioritize your communications, because it's going to be very busy in that area too. Now, I want to move on to the other kind of undertone. This whole week has kind of got that undertone of that Saturn square energy, and that undertone of that unexpected shock, surprise, chaos energy of Uranus. Now, we don't have any major positive or negative aspects with Uranus, but we do have quite a few minor hiccups. And when it starts, kind of flexing its muscles and being seen and wanting to be known, it'll let you know it's out there. That means like the whole week is going to be covered with unexpected things, hiccups and bumps, and having to recalibrate and alter plans and change plans and be annoyed because we just didn't see this coming, or it was very unexpected. That whole theme is going to be running through this whole week too. So, how do you prepare to be, the shock, surprise, or you can't prepare for, the unprepared, right? So it's kind of those things, just take it in stride and just expect that unexpected things are going to come up and you're going to have to deal with it. Like, it's such an all over the place, crazy week. If it's not the planets being crazy, it's the aspects being crazy. And if it's not that, it's the boxed in Saturn square energy that's being crazy. Like, it's very, very unstable this week. It's all over the place, okay? So the best we can do is just go with the flow, roll with the punches, take it as it comes. What works, roll with it. What doesn't work, set it aside, move on to plan B, plan C. That's the way it goes. If you need help, be sure to ask. And if you need to sleep, be sure to allow yourself sleep time and rest time, because this can be a very, very exhausting time. Okay, and I do want to mention that we do have 2 health houses lit up. So it's going to be Health House 6 and Health House 8. So there's going to be a focal point on health at some point too. I'll get into that a little bit later with the health and anatomy. Okay, and so what else did I want to talk about? I talked enough about the Neptunian 29th degree. So that is just, again, like deception. I do believe we're going to be seeing things to do with pharmaceutical grade drugs, the truths coming out, where you were basically deceived, or falsehoods or lies to do with these areas. It will be FDA linked, I do believe. And again, this will link into like travel. That will be like water travel, shipping, ships and cargo ships, those kind of thing, waterways. It's got to do with media, and again, falsehoods being eluded, and delusions, and, con jobs, falsehoods with media, and again, filmmaking. What do you believe? What don't you believe? And the exposure is going to start coming out in those areas as well. And also, again, the highlighted area of addictions, drug problems, street drugs, prescription drugs. And again, people with the rose-colored glasses on, or head in the sand, I just don't want to see this. This is what I see versus what is. There is a big difference between what you want to see and what actually is. And so that's going to be very highlighted here as well. Okay, so moving on. So the next thing I want to talk to you about... Oh, yes. Okay, we have lots of water energy. That's what I want to go. So we have Cancer, we have Jupiter and a water sign, and we have the other 2 planets in, 2 planets in Pisces, and we have the North Node in Pisces. That's a point, not a planet. But we have a lot of water energy, so it's very emotional, it's very fluid. And so when we have Neptune sitting at that 29th degree, this can also include overdosing problems and oversensitivity. So lots of water. So the high emotions, this can also be water problems, water leaks, water breaks, water main breaks in streets or on properties. If you are leaving on vacation, be sure to shut your water source off in the basement, or your water valves wherever you're living. Shut them off before you leave. This can be breaks or cracks in lines, like say fridges for like water dispensers. Cracked leaks in toilets, overflowing toilets in, faucets. That can be washing machines, anything like that, leaks, cracks, or holes in water lines and walls. So, and this can be global flooding. This can be mass flooding due to high sea storms, those kind of things, monsoons, those types of things. And again, the other thing with the biggest thing with that 29th degree and in Pisces energy is no boundaries, no barriers, no healthy, respectful boundaries between people. Okay, and so we also have, like I said, 3 other points sitting in water signs. So what does that mean? It means people can have a hard time keeping their nose on their own face, essentially. So maybe people minding your business or poking their nose into your business where it doesn't belong, or just ensure that's not you, and do install healthy boundaries. So you might have to punt somebody's nose back into their own business and tell them to have respectful, healthy boundaries in life, or just ensure that that's not you putting your nose into someone else's business. If it's not your issue, not your problem, stay out of it. And just remember, when you say water, water's descriptive as it's fluid, right? Water can flow under walls, it can go under doors, it's in places where it's not supposed to be. So essentially, that's essentially what can happen with people not minding their own business, okay? And again, the floods, the leaks, do check water valves, or it can be, leaky pipes, it can be, fittings that come loose, anything like that. So just a heads up. Okay, and so we will move on to, so our main topics, that's where we're going to go. So because we have an active Venus, again, so the topics of the week, I'm just going to go through where it would basically touch base on the houses for the planets, all the planets and natural houses involved. And so again, finances, your inner values, your self-worth, okay? And when you're talking finances, that's expenses, budgeting. You might be purchasing something, thinking of purchasing something, how you make your money, your income, your job, the job that makes you money, maybe savings. And this can also include, like when you're talking second house, that is your money possession house and your values, okay? Inner values, and that can be valuables. So assets is something else that can be very highlighted, right? Okay, and so this can also include relationships, partnerships, and this can also be practitioners or helpers, aesthetics, design, art, right? Agreements or contracts. Clients, customers, customer relations, public relations. This is also not only relationships with others, but it's relationship with self. So there might be some work that needs to be there. This is also an air house, so we could be talking about air travel, air plans, anything to do with those types of things too. Or you might be actually on a vacation as you're listening to this. And so we have the third house activated as well. Again, this is a air house as well. So again, this is very air travel related. So you might be booking a trip, talking about booking a trip, or you might be actually going on a trip, anything air travel related. This is also the house of communication and people you're close to. So that can be friends, that can be neighbors. Mostly it's siblings, can be aunts and uncles, okay? People close to us. And it's in the local environment. It's in your neighborhood. It's in your town. It's not like, 3 or 4 hours away in the city. It's in your local environment. So communication devices. So that can include computers, desktop computers, laptops, iPhones, iPods, iPads, any sort of personal device system. This also can include social media and internet. This will be double amplified because the 11th house is lit up as well. So maybe watching lots of social media or having lots of things to do or work on the internet, or even making a social media platform. This is about transportation, so that's here, there, that's short trips, here, there, all over the place. So that could be by car, by truck, that can be by quad, side by side. This can include scooters, it can include wheelchairs, anything that was a form of mobility or transportation. So you might be buying something, looking at something, those kind of things, writing and editing. And again, the problem side of this particular house is gossip. So do know fact from fiction, and this can get you into big trouble this week if you don't know what you're talking about. So be sure you know what you're talking about, and even if you do, you still might not want to say it. The third house can be a problematic area of gossip, right? So just be sure and be sensitive and have compassion for others before you say something or don't say something. Know fact from fiction before you even start. Okay, so we are going to have the 6th house lit up. This is a health house. So this is your basic health, focus on health. So that's about diet, exercise, a big health focus. health, healing, wellness, daily routines, daily regimens, and having systems in place, organization. This is about your work, your job, okay, and doing work that's important to you. And this is all about the details. So there could be details in your job, there could be details in contracts, that could be detail in your health and fitness, and the detail in organizing a daily routine for your fitness or something like that. And about this is service to the world too. So that often can hover around people's work. So Virgo is the service to the world. So that could be anything you would do as a work or a job that's important that would service the world. Like, say, for example, a hairdresser, right? Something like that. And again, the downside of the sixth house is a little bit of bad luck. And also this can include slavery, feeling enslaved to somebody or something. So this can be enslavement that could be in a negative or an abusive relationship, or being enslaved to your job due to debt load. That's just two examples. Doesn't apply to anybody, but just some ideas like how to what I'm talking about. So we have an eighth house lit up. Again, this is the other health house. This is the house of surgery, and it's the house of hidden procedures. It's the death, it's a transformation house, it's the sex house, it's the tax house, okay? So we could be looking at physical death. Unfortunately, I mean, that's just a part of life. But for the larger part, it's figurative death. So it could be, death of a job, right? That will come to an end, you start something new. Or death of a relationship, you end that relationship and you start on your new cycle. So this can include, this is also the big money house. So this could be the lotto house. Okay, and it's also a water house. And when you have a water house, any water house is dark. It's below the surface. You can't see what's going on. Often this is things going on behind closed doors in whatever part of life, but you can't see because it's dark. Okay, so that this is the death house, the transformation house. Like I said, it's about inheritances, other people's money and resources, familiar and spousal money. So that can be spousal support or joint bank accounts, collaboration. This is also the big debt house. It's a capital house, about big debt, loans. This is about taxes. It's about legacy, and it can be about credit. So maybe you're even getting a credit report done or looking at your own credit. Intimacy, sex, and marriage. So this is another relationship house, right? And this is the power control house, but it's also about the self-empowerment house. So that's very nice here. Psychology, parapsychology. This is about mysteries, esoteric, mystical, occult, mysticism, those kind of interests or studies. So that might be something you're thinking about doing, or you might be taking courses behind closed doors that nobody can see. So when I talk about a surgery house, so this can relate to surgeries, maybe past surgeries and you're recovering. You might be going in for a surgery. You might be planning to have a surgery done in the future, or things, repercussions because of a surgery. And this is also the house of miscarriages and abortions, unfortunately. But that those two things that would be hidden things or procedures going on in the background that would not be visible to the public. It's private, right? You can't see. All right. So this is also involving insurance, and it can also include investments. So you could be, buying an insurance policy, getting an insurance payout, or, looking at investments, investing money, or getting an investment payout as well. You could be looking at estates, wills, funerals. You might even be making a will, right? Or dealing with estates and inheritance. I know a few people doing that right now. And this is a big house. So house 8 and house 12 are really, really huge houses. So any of these areas, and again, this is the Lotto house. This can also include the topic of Cancer when it comes to health as well, because Pluto does rule the 8th house. Scorpio does rule the 8th house, and the 8th house is a health house. So Cancer topic of any kind. So that can be, anatomy, or just news, or correspondence, or surgeries, or treatments, anything like that. Okay, and so now we're moving on to 11th house affairs, innovation house, technology. And again, here's our air house. So we have all 3 air houses lit up, which means that you're talking about air travel somewhere. And that can include politics, right? Political things going on all over the globe. inventions, innovations that can include friends, friendship circles, your place in a friendship circle or group, acquaintances. Okay, and again, this is where the internet and the social media overlap. So this is very amplified, which means chances are probably a lot of us will be doing this. So social media platforms, being on social media, making your own social media platform, or just watching lots of social media. This is also about internet business, doing things on the internet or internet-based projects. This also, when you're looking at 11th house affairs, it's about large groups, it's about communities, it's about committees, it's large organizations or humanitarian efforts. Okay, it's like minds, like groups, associations. You're there for a purpose because there's a commonality, right? Technology, and this is also about digital currency. This can also include banking, digital currency. What else? That's going to be currency rates. So the currency would be very unstable. So currency value, or what you could exchange, the exchange rate is what I'm trying to say. This is also the pennies from heaven house, so hopes, dreams, and wishes. So that's always a nice part of this house too, right? Pennies from heaven, so that could be gifts, somebody giving you money, you giving someone else money, or hopes, wishes, and dreams, where you're thinking about, maybe you're putting out intentions, or maybe some of your hopes, wishes, and dreams are starting to come to fruition. So, and then we're going to have business, work. So that means job, career. So that can be management, career management. This can hover around father figures, or dads, okay? Authority figures. And we will definitely be seeing some of that coming out in the news on the globe. And you apply that accordingly. So, that's personal to global. Like, nobody's exempt from this. You're on the planet. Guess what? You count. And so, again, that's going to be really highlighted with all this Capricornian energy coming in, with all these Saturn squares coming in. You can expect to see authority figures on the global level really show up kind of in a corrective or self-corrective or a karmic way. What goes around comes around. It's being caught with the hand in the cookie jar. People are going to find out what's been going on and nobody knew, and you will be held responsible and you will be held accountable. And often this comes with the stripping of the title, the power, and control. And again, the Capricornian energy really hovers around integrity. It's the testing field. So it tests your integrity. And what that means is selling of the soul. So when you start selling off your soul for power, status, control, material goods, or monetary gain, this is the energy that comes in. It starts doing the testing field. So this is where it starts to erupt, and the whistleblowers and the truth start to come out. And that's why you always usually have the fall from grace, okay? Okay, and so this will also hover around discipline. Again, I just said responsibility. It's about strategies in place, accountability. And again, this will hover around people's public reputation. On this week, and for probably the rest of the month, it's really going to be shining on a global stage. So you don't even need to look too personal. You can actually follow what I mean on the global stage when it hovers around basically global leaders or politics. Okay, and this is also to do with structures. So you must have structures in place. Capricorn says, have a game plan, because that's what it does. It has a purpose. There's always a purpose, plus or minus. You always have to have a strategy, and you always have to have structures in place. And that's what Capricorn and Saturn loves. It thrives at that. It's very, very good at it, but make sure it's applied properly. And physical time will be of the essence. So be on time, or time will be of the essence, or time is important for some reason. And now we're going to flip over to the 12th house. And so again, this is a huge water house, just like the 8th house. And so again, water houses are always dark. Water houses are always hidden. Okay, and so this is essentially behind the scenes, hidden or secret, right? Often when I see this always reminds me of the workhorse in the background that does all the work for somebody, and somebody else would probably take the credit. Or it's like maybe a job where the workhorse in the background does all the work for someone else to present their work. So it's behind the scenes, hidden or secret. So this is also about rest, retreat, rejuvenation, and recharge. So a time out, right, to rest and retreat. This is also about dream time. So that can be lucid dreaming, astral dreaming, teleportation dreaming, anything to do with dreaming. So if you do dream, do keep a dream journal. Often the dreams are messages. You might not understand them today, tomorrow, or next week, but they will mean something down the line. This is also about the psychology. It's a psychology house. and our inner work, subconscious work, the subconscious mind. So that often can show up as shadow work that has to be done within all of us. And it's also about a spirituality area as well, the cosmic soup, esoteric, occult, mystical study, occult study. So those kind of things. And again, that is double amplified. So I can see that being very, very important this week to some of you out there. This is also the house of fears and addictions. That is kind of the downside of this house. Well, one of the downsides. It's very artsy, artistic, creative. And this is also the house of past lives. Okay, so linking back to past lives, and this is also about Akashic records, those kind of things too. So if you're into that, great, that will be highlighted. And if not, that's okay too. And escapism and addiction. So when you talk about escapism and addictions, that's like drugs and alcohol, basically to escape reality for a duration. Okay, so that is not a good thing in this house either. And it's a private house. And so this is also the house of confinement or isolation. So what do I mean by that? So confinement, you could be in a hospital, prison, orphanage. And so that is by somebody else's order. The doctors admitted you, or the judges ordered you to prison or jail. So that's by someone else's hands, but you're in confinement, okay? And again, it could be isolation. So you could be self-isolating because you need to rest and recharge and get some sleep, or maybe you need some alone time because you're writing a book or journaling or something. But there's also isolation and a negative value. So that could be isolation due to somebody else. So for example, in a abusive relationship, somebody is isolating you in the house from away from your family or friends. So that would be a form of a negative isolation. Okay, so that's just some examples. It doesn't apply to you, but just what I mean by that. This also takes in foreign lands and foreign shores. Okay. And again, it really hovers around the healthy and unhealthy escapism. So do know the difference. I mean, the healthy escapism was be escaping reality because I'm going to read a book, but the unhealthy is like taking drugs or alcohol to escape reality. So do know the difference and do tread carefully. Okay, because we are sitting in that 29th degree of Pisces in Neptune. So Neptune is about addictions, Pisces is about addictions, and it's in its own sign, which double amplifies that area of addictions being a serious problem. Okay, and the last but not least is the redefining yourself and your ego from the ground up. So meaning that refers to your status and maybe your possessions. So for example, that would mean, rebuilding yourself from ground zero. Meaning, say, for example, if you went through a divorce, okay, well, your status is no longer married, you're single, so that's changed. And, stripping or a division of property or assets. So basically, you're starting over from ground up, right? So some of us might be looking at that. All right, so that completes all those areas that are going to be very highlighted. And so now I'm going to jump into our health and anatomy. So this is always an interesting area that shows up. So I'm going to read the areas of anatomy that will be of significance. And for the most part, we have, what do we have here? Yeah, so we will have a little bit of good news or resolution or answers hovering around the 27th. So that's about good news or information or getting good results or something you want to hear to do with old hurts and wounds. So that would be not something today, but the day of, but it was something that's happened in the past. So when I talk about old hurts and wounds, sore spots, that can include physical hurts, right? So broken this, broken that, sore this, sore that on the body physically. It can be mental, emotional hurts, but this can also include financial hurts. So we do have one good day where you're looking for good results. Something's going to work out in your favor. Good news, a solution, resolution, something like that. That will be on the 27th. But for the most part, we're looking at hiccup problems. And so these are the places of the anatomy it's going to touch. So it's going to be the throat, the chin, the cheeks, the sense of taste, the kidneys, ovaries, internal reproductive organs, blood circulation, sensory organs of the skin, or just skin in general. Skin is going to be very highlighted here. So when I say skin, it can be skin conditions, working with skin, betterment of skin, skin treatments, or just doing better things, drinking more water for healthier skin, those kind of things. So the nervous system, brain, sight, so that's your eyes, okay, mouth, tongue, respiratory system, including the lungs, hands, arms, thyroid, and this also includes the mind, any sort of mental realm thinking, and the thymus gland, and this also includes the elbows. All right. I'm going to include Saturn because, again, the theme for basically the whole month of December is going to be Saturnian, or have that Saturnian undercurrent. So skin, right? That's very amplified this week again. Skeletal system, so bones anywhere in the body. Teeth, ligaments, knees, ears, auditory organs that can include hearing aids, gallbladder, parathyroid gland, body protein, tendons, bones, again, anywhere in the body. Okay, and this can also include the ankles. Okay, so problems. So just be careful not to twist an ankle, break an ankle, scrape an ankle. And this is also involves the higher nervous system. So the electrical system of the body. So that would be like the electrical system passing over the nerve cells. Okay, and we'll jump into Neptune. So viruses, mental illness, depression. Okay, spinal column, nerve fibers, feet, pineal gland, telepathic function, so that can include the third eye, etc., and white blood cells. So you might be getting your blood testing, they might be testing the white blood cells, that's very highlighted here, and kinesthetic functions. Okay, so when we're talking about that, that's like physiotherapy, redoing something over and over until you get it right. So walking straight or building up knee strength, repetitious to make it work and rebuild those areas. Again, there is a very, very amplified area of mental illness and depression here. Okay, again, because it's Neptunian related, it's sitting at the 29th degree. Anything to do with that 29th degree and anything is always usually the negative effect for anything it's touching base with. I want to include the Pluto. We don't have any major good aspects. We don't have any major negative aspects, but we do have hiccup, mild problem aspects with Pluto. So this is going to include eliminative and reproductive systems. So, your colon, your rectum, that could be bladder, urethra, those areas, pituitary gland, abnormal growth. This is kind of where I like to go with this one. So the abnormal growth, so that can be warts, tumors, moles, skin tags, birthmarks, and cancer. Like when you're talking abnormal growth, that can be cancerous growth anywhere in the body. So that can be attention or news or just a highlighted topic for this week. Okay, and this will include also the knees, big time the knees, around the knees and the lower leg. Okay, that will include also hips, thighs, upper legs. That will include throat, neck, ears, vocal cords, thyroid gland, or anything to do with the thyroid or its makeup or its compounds needed to make it up. Tongue, mouth, tonsils, and lower teeth. So teeth, upper teeth, lower teeth are also included. This will also include the blood. So red blood cell testing, anything to do with blood cells. So immune system, lymphatic system. And now this can include abnormal swelling or abnormal water retention in the body or within the lymph system, okay? Toxic water. So that can be toxic water on the earth or on the planet, but also can be toxic water within the body. Viruses, thymus gland. And again, I will mention the overdosing and the oversensitivity problem. Okay, so when I say that, again, it just means it's easy to overdose, and what used to be your regular dosage could very much be an overdosing problem. So where it take half as much to get the same results. Taking the full amount would be overdosing. And as crazy as that sounds, it's true. So if it feels off, something's not right, or maybe something feels too much, do take that up with your health care provider, doctor, pharmacist, because if you're feeling that way, chances are that's what's happening. And again, oversensitivity, like you're oversensitive. Everybody's body's oversensitive to pills, medications, prescriptions. That can include prescription drugs, street drugs. So you need half the amount to get the same results, essentially. And that can be oversensitive with emotions. So just do keep that in mind as well. So do think twice before acting and speaking, because that can come with regrets down the road. So don't do that, especially when you got a gossip problem to begin with this week. Again, the abnormal swelling and abnormal water retention can really be a problem. Again, that's sitting with that 29th degree Pisces energy can really do that, okay? And that will conclude our health and anatomy. And I do want to talk a little bit about kind of an instability. This will be more in the global level market. So oil and gas, and that can have to do with plastics too. So we can talk about, natural resources, oil and gas being unstable and being kind of rocky and all over the place. And again, plastics. So that can be truth coming out with plastics. We're redoing plastics, detoxifying plastics. And again, when we talk about oil, that can actually be cooking oil too. So we can be finding out problems with cooking oil or things that are damaging to the body with cooking oil. And that can also be abdominal or intestinal digestive gas as well. It can be very, very literal, okay? Okay, and I think that will probably wrap up our reading for the 22nd to the 28th. Again, kind of a crazy all over the place week. It's very, very unpredictable. Plans consistently changing, and again really boxed in and really highlighted with those Saturn squares. So it's an authority problem, or someone trying to be controlling, dominating, domineering, those kind of things. But things are coming to a head. So, and again, I don't think I mentioned this, but I'm going to mention this about the negative aspects when it comes to all these Saturnian squares. Remember, Saturn is the lord of karma. What comes around goes around, right? And so, and just remember, not all negative aspects play out the same for everybody. So it really depends on what you have going on in life, what your decisions are, what your choices were, and how you handle them. And so often the negative aspects can really turn out to be very, very beneficial. And how can that be? It can be because when you have these tight and these really, really conflict hard aspects come in, it can actually differentiate between right versus wrong, truth versus lies or falsehoods, or good versus bad. Okay, so when that happens, often there will be multiple parties involved, maybe one or two parties, if not more. And so there's always going to be a winner. There's always going to be a loser. So that's why I say depends what you got going on, what your decisions were in the past. And so the winner, it works out good, and the loser usually doesn't go over so well. So that's where it can be quite beneficial. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So every time you hear a negative aspect, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to play out the way. It can be very, very karmic in nature. So meaning what comes around goes around. Okay, so we're really, really, really looking at this energy, and 2026 promises to be a very, very interesting year, a very interesting of liftoff, different energy, right? So this was very much a transition year. So if you look at the year 2025, that's equals a 9, right? So if you add all those numbers together, it comes up to 9. 9 is about processing the end, preparing for the end, getting to the end. 2026 is a 10 year. And so when you're looking at a 10 year, 10s are always about endings, resolution, conclusions, culminations. We are done with this cycle, and it turns into the beginning of a new cycle. So that's what 2026, just in a numerical sense, it means. So we're going to really be twisting off into a different light, into a different kind of world. Okay, so with that being said, that will end our reading from December 22nd to 2028. Or sorry, December 22nd to December 28th, 2025. So have a Merry Christmas and have a safe holiday season. Bye for now.